and we know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. 'Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. 'Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from all over the world, as we are an international platform. I am joined by the amazing Peter, who is one of the co-owners of Explore ProTech. So we, on the Coffee Shop Show, talk about all things business, from startups to small to medium and everything in between. So we're continuing. I think this is our last episode about marketing. And this one is about podcasting. So about starting your own, a little bit about being a guest, and so on and so forth. So we take our real life experiences and things we've learned over the years, to give you the knowledge and tips and lessons we've learned so you don't have to repeat those. So podcasting, whether you're on a podcast or you have a podcast, there's definitely steps to all of it. So let's start with owning a podcast. So if you own a podcast, and I think podcast nowadays is a very generic term. Podcasting can mean an audible podcast on Spotify or Apple. Podcast can mean a YouTube show. Podcast can mean streaming on any platform, from Facebook to, I don't know, other platforms out there. So podcasting has kind of gotten shoved into like everything in one box type thing. So I'm going to talk to you about the perspective of like podcasting as in having it on Spotify or app or wherever you listen to your Audible podcast, and of course our YouTube show. So I'm going to come from that angle just because those are the angles I know. So getting started. So how to get started? Well, one, you got to figure out, how is it going to help you? How's it going to help your marketing? Is it something your audience listens to? We've talked about over and over and over again. Go back and watch previous shows. Where's your audience? Are they hanging out on YouTube? Are they hanging out on Spotify? Are they hanging out at Apple? You know, if they're consume social media and don't listen to or watch videos, you might be spinning your wheels to do a podcast. It might not be a great marketing strategy. So definitely knowing your audience, knowing where they're at, ask them. I mean, previous clients, social media, like ask, where do you hang out? Where do you consume material from? And if they're like, I hang out on YouTube all the time, YouTube all the time, then yeah, hey, start a video YouTube channel. So if not, they're like, oh, I hang out on Spotify, or I don't hang out on any of that. I'd rather read your newsletter or article or whatever that is. So definitely start with, is this even make sense for your particular audience? So podcasting, for the most part, can be free. Definitely, it's lessons learned and how do you do that. In our case, a live YouTube show, we do purchase platforms to help with streaming and so forth. So I'm not going to say everything is free. We do have the amazing Susan who turns us into an Audible podcast for Spotify. So you can take something, a show, whether you do it on YouTube or you do Audible or both. I know people that do both. They do a YouTube version and then they do turn it in Audible just like we do. So knowing again, where is your audience hanging out for the purpose of a podcast is extremely important. So then as far as tools, if you're doing something live like we are, a Zoom or um, there's lots of platforms now, Ecamm. There's a couple others too that I know about that you get on, whether it's yourself or you have guests, what makes sense as far as what kind of platform you use. Some of them you can use for free, like Zoom has free, but it's got limits. So know the limits. If you're going to use something free, know exactly what are the limits, how much do you get for free, and test that out so you're not struggling when you go live with something or if you're recording something. I know people that just record on their phone or on their computer, podcasts, and that's perfectly fine. You got to use what you have, especially when you get started. As far as making show notes, like we have the amazing Susan that does that, but there are definitely programs where you put the video in and it transcribes it for you, giving you your show notes or something you can definitely clean up. If it's something that's not live and it's recorded, then having either an editing program or an podcast editor, which is definitely a whole thing, is smart. We don't get that luxury, whatever happens, happens because it's live. So, but a lot of people do record theirs. And then as far as listing it on platforms, most of them are free. Some of them do require you purchase software, or you can purchase a software that will like push it out to a whole bunch of different platforms. So it's a lot about research and figuring out what works best for you and your budget that you're on. Definitely can get it around a lot with free, just knowing what to do. And then the other thing is once you figure out what platforms people are watching or listening to you, what kind of structure do you want? Like we were doing an hour and we were like, people don't want to consume an hour. So we changed it to 45 minutes. I know some people that do 15. I know some people that do 30. So what ideally is your audience wanting from you? If it's short clips, which you have the shorts on YouTube now, or is it something that's longer? Then trial and error, I think it's just that it is try something, doesn't work, be consistent for a while, change it, be consistent for a while, and so on and so forth, so that you can get the most impact for your time. Because there is time that you put in it, whether it's planning the show, editing the show, producing the show, advertising it, and everything in between. There is definitely time, whether it's a 30-minute show, a 15-minute show, or an hour show. So you definitely have all that to, do too. So you got to keep that in mind that a 30-minute episode once a week might don't sound like a lot, but there's the before and the after and the during to do. Peter, come on in. Because you definitely you've had the channel longer than me, so you definitely have more experience in that.
Um, I think something we need to remember is that we are specifically talking about podcasting in regards to marketing. So it's a different beast. It's not just a podcast because you are discussing a particular topic or you're well known for a particular topic. You're actually using the podcast to market a product or yourself as a podcaster, if that's what you want to be seen as. So, and I think it's a bit of a different beast when you are utilizing podcasting to do marketing, versus using a podcast to highlight a very particular topic that everybody might be interested in, because those people are not buying anything from you other than consuming your content. So it's a different beast altogether. I think in this space, we're not utilizing this space to sell anything to anyone. We're utilizing this space to have a conversation around entrepreneurs and things that might interest entrepreneurs and discuss topics that maybe future entrepreneurs can learn from maybe the mistakes and the wins that we've had or made. But if you look at it from a marketing perspective, you cannot create a podcast that lines up with marketing unless you actually have a plan. You need to plan that marketing. So, and every single step of the way, you need to, from optimizing your titles to optimize them for search engine optimization, so that it's picked up more easily, more people get to see it, or it's more available, more visible. There are things like inviting very specific guests to your podcast that other people might want to hear what they have to say. There's um, or there's also maybe creating a website specifically for your podcast so that you can then take bits of content, show notes, information, things that people that want to engage with you want to have access to. So that those people actually have access. No, they're not going to come and watch you all the time. They want access to those bits of information, or you state on your podcast, you can get the notes over here, and there's a specific website for your podcast because now it's all marketing. You're going to want to understand that as you create your podcast, you're creating an audience. An audience cannot engage with you consistently on just your podcast. You need to go somewhere else where they can. So, reutilizing your content, creating shorts, utilizing spaces, not just the site that you would use to actually create your podcast, but then also pushing that to other places like YouTube, like Facebook, like all the places where your target audience might be. That's where you've got to push it to. But if you're marketing, you don't want to just push content to people. You want them to respond because you want to create open communication. You want them to communicate with you. If you are lucky enough to get to that point where you get people to engage with you, if you do not engage back, the conversation ends. Done. They're not going to talk to you again. They're not going to consume your content because they've reached out, they've tried to have a conversation. You didn't talk to them. They weren't important enough. You've just lost the entire point of having the podcast in the first place. So I think that's why we need to remember this is about podcasting and marketing. There are different types of podcasts. There's a few that I watch, and I engage with them in different ways because they are bringing it to me in different places that I would go to consume that content. Sometimes it's just about a topic and I have an opinion and I want to state that opinion and I do so. Sometimes it's a topic about men versus women, or sometimes it's a topic about raising children, or it's a topic about, and I have an opinion. It's a topic about business. I have an opinion. I think I responded to, what was his name? He created a clip. He actually goes around and asks people, what is your dream? And he creates this content, and it's engaging, and people want to engage. And he did it really well, and I engaged. Simon Squibb, sorry. Brilliant content, absolutely brilliant. If I could have 20 minutes of his time, I'm sure we would amaze each other. It would be absolutely great. But that's just the thing, right? If you're creating content for marketing and then you don't follow through, you're dead in the water. Your podcast will last as long as you can endure it. But the moment you've created that engagement and they're responding to you and you're responding to them, then you're pointing them to something else and they're going to consume that content. Then your marketing is doing exactly what it needs to do. Peace out.
Yeah, definitely. The purpose and why you're doing it and how you're doing it is so extremely important because yes, people consume things to learn. People consume things to be entertained. My husband likes watching people react to his favorite songs and stuff like that. Me personally, it annoys the heck out of me. I'm like, okay, I don't want to listen to a song and listen to people talk about the song 50 times over. But It's his jam. He loves it. Um, Now something like this, he'd be like, okay, whatever, because he doesn't have a business, so it doesn't relate to him. So definitely knowing where people do. And then, like you said, having the place for them to go. Like we direct you guys to go to our LinkedIn profiles and book a chat with us so we can have a conversation with you. YouTube has comments. I have live comments. That's why it's a live show, is because I'm in the live show at the same time. It's like literally right there. So I interact. Um, and we are a little more unique, so we do have the live show, but definitely making sure you go back and check comments on wherever you post it and have that interaction with people is part of your marketing plan for sure. Mr. L, good evening, sir. Come on in.
Hi, good evening, Sondra. What happened? Am I still there?
Yes, you're still there.
Oh, okay. Hi, Pira. Look, I think this is one of the very important topics, one of the very important tools that anyone in a business should be engaging in. It doesn't help for us to give you tips and thereafter you're not going to use them, because this platform is for us to give you tips that you can go and use and come back to us, as Sondra alludes, come back to us and say, well, this is what I've done, this is working, this is not working. Then we engage with you. So the one thing that I want to mention is, because this is for business, the way you present your product or your service on the podcast is very important. It doesn't help just to go in, show off your product, and then say, this is what we're doing. And then you're thinking, well, I've had a 15-minute podcast and this will sell. It's going to sell. So engage with people in a way that you'd want them to engage with you. Let your content, not your product, let your content be interesting so that it draws people to you. Now, Peter, you're talking about other podcasts that we have out there. I mean, there are probably thousands of them that are on YouTube. Okay, it's all different topics, from what I would look at it as a stupid topic to the most interesting, to the most educational. So you don't want to be fitting somewhere there. You want to be seen. You want people to see you and like, I want to engage with this person, because whenever they present a product, they present it in such a way that it's interesting. And you want to get them to go out and buy the product. That's very important. You don't want them to just, oh yeah, well, it's good content, it's a nice product, and they're not going to buy it. And when they have purchased the product or even service, you want them to come back and talk to you. Sondra, you alluded to that. You need feedback, and you need to feed back to them to say, yes, this is what's happening. Say somebody buys a product that they want to use according to your podcast. They go home, they use it, and they don't feel it's working the way you're saying it. They come back to you and say, well, I bought, this is what I used it for, this is how I used it. And you need to go back to them and say, well, this is an improved way, or this is a way you could have used it that would have helped you. So the your podcast, the product, how you present, and the people that you invite should be so interesting that we want to watch the next one and the next one and the next one. We want to watch it twice, 3 times, 4 times, so that we get used to it. We want to, I think it should be a recitation. When your podcast comes, we need to be talking with you as to what you're going to say. For me, that's important, especially in marketing, when you're doing a product or even your service. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sondra. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you. So, so important. Yes. To get the feedback and take the feedback and apply it so that you grow as a business person is just very, very important. And also that that the purpose what your intent of your purpose, the intent of your content might not match how it's being perceived. I think that was another thing I liked about that, Mr. Hall, is that you might be feeling you presented it and this is what the outcome should be. And then people, like you said, go do something or watch it and be like, yeah, I didn't hear it that way, or I didn't see it that way. And I know, Mr. L, in the past, you've been like, I didn't quite understand it the way you didn't explain it the way you didn't understand it the way I explained it, but Peter did it in a just a little bit of a different way. And you're like, oh, okay, I get that. So, because everybody has, education and their own perspectives and things. So you could have this intent, but are you hitting that mark? Is your intent actually coming through on your show? Because people hear it differently and don't see it that way, or it could be everything. It could be culture. It could be age. There's so many factors that factored into that. So asking your audience, hey, are you understanding what I'm talking about? Is this hitting the mark? Just that customer feedback or audience feedback. This isn't even customer, just audience feedback, for sure. And then applying the feedback, which kind of alludes to what we'll be going into after this one, which is about customer experience. So that's so funny. Come on in, Peter.
Okay, so I'm going to say something that's going to contradict itself. Views and likes don't make sales. If people are just viewing your content or just liking your content, they're not necessarily your customers. However, you do get podcasters and you get YouTubers and you get who become quite well known, and because of the amount of views that they're getting and the amount of likes that they're getting, they become extremely popular. And because of that popularity, people then want to consume the content and buy their products. I think a really, really class act example of that would be Mr. Beast. Creating content where can all of these people stay in this place for X amount of time, and if they do, they win $1 million, and literally became a household name. You would talk about Mr. Beast in any country, and everybody would know exactly who he is. He created his own chocolate with his own brand. Everybody was buying it. His own energy drinks, the people were buying it. But he wasn't necessarily just marketing his products. He had created a brand of Mr. Beast, and everybody loved the content. They were consuming the content, and the more they consumed it, the more they loved it, the more they wanted, and he shot off like a rocket. Absolutely brilliant. I've watched a lot of his content. I actually learned a lot from his content. But before you're well known, your likes are not selling your product. Your views are not selling your product. Your engagement with your audience might sell your product. So, and until you reach the pinnacle where that scale tips and you can utilize the amounts of likes that you have as leverage to sell your product, until then, are we in that position? Goodness me, no. We're not. We're not. We don't have to be in this space. We don't have to be. That's not the intent and purpose behind this content. If it was, we would approach it a whole lot differently. I think that if you are looking to create a successful podcast and successfully maintain an audience, and utilize it for your marketing, you have to understand that way back when, if you had a business and you were a carpet cleaner and you wanted to engage with clients, you would put an ad in the paper. Or you would pick up the telephone and you would phone 1,000 people and maybe 2 people would need a carpet cleaned. Or as time moves forward, the method of selling your product changes because we have access to so much more. So if you think about it, you are doing the same process. You're just using a different tool in a different way to do the same thing. And now we've got access to the entire world, where we can create content, we can repurpose content, we can push out content on multiple channels at the same time. We can push it out to Facebook, YouTube, at the same time. You get applications that will size everything for you to where it's sending it to. You can make shorts, you can do reels, there is so much that you can do. but it's almost the same as putting your ad in the paper. At some point in time, there has to be a conversation. Hello? Oh, you wanted your carpet cleaned? Yes, ma'am, I can do that for you. I clean carpets the best. My service is A1 guaranteed. Oh, really? Yes, they bring their carpet, you clean their carpet, you do such a good job. Oh my goodness me, that was the best carpet cleaner I've ever had, and I'm gonna write it as a reference to say everybody should use your services because you clean carpets the best. It's the same thing. We're just not using the newspaper and we're just not using the telephone. You got to see things for what they are. You can't just go, well, every week I'm going to record myself and make a podcast. Great. If nobody's seeing it and nobody's responding and you're not communicating to anybody and nobody's communicating back to you, you might as well sit at home and watch it as a series because nothing's going to happen. You have to utilize the tool for its purpose. It's purpose driven. And if something is purpose driven, you have to have a plan to drive it. You cannot just go, I'm recording now. I'm very important. I'm a podcaster, but I've got no audience and I can't sell my product. But the sound's really good. None of that is relevant. So plan. And if you don't know what you're doing, and I've been there before, if you do not know what you're doing, look at the people that are already doing it and ask, how did you do that? What platform are you using? How did you create those reels? Was that automated? Is there an app that does that? Get answers to the questions that you have, then apply the information to your space and learn. And if that doesn't work for you, well, then I've tried it. It didn't quite work. Maybe I should try something different, or maybe I should try the same thing in a different way. Don't just, I'm a podcaster. Well, good for you. Good for you. And another thing, if you find yourself in a space where you are niched and you're planned and you're putting yourself out there, another method of getting yourself out there is lining yourself with other podcasters that have similar content or talk about the same topic. Share audiences, grow each other, build. You know, we're not islands. We do not exist on our own. You know, the world is full of people, and you'd be amazed at the amount of people that are out there that have gone, well, I've done it. I've reached a pinnacle. Oh, you need some help? Come talk to me. Just go for it. Meet people, engage, do what you got to do.
Yeah, I love all that, Peter. And I think that's how I got Stephanie to come on the show. Like, she's very well-known speaker, but because I had a relationship with her, and then I was like, hey, can you come talk? I think what she's doing is amazing. And I've consumed her content, which is how I met her and so on and so forth. So did she have to? Definitely not. It was, something that she does do, but on a bigger scale. She does podcasts for people that are way bigger than us. But she was fine with that. And I have a client that we've been looking at that same thing. Like, they need to be on other people's podcasts to grow their podcast, because yes, you have this, your audience, your reach is going to go further. And it can be similar topics. You can both talk about business because you're going to have your own unique spin on it. So we can be on people's podcasts that are educating people about business, because what they're doing is not going to be you definitely being on podcasts is just as important as having your own podcast. When you're being a guest, you need to do the marketing. Like, you do the marketing before, you do the marketing after. It is part of the marketing plan. Some podcasts systems have before and after that they give you or hand to you to make that easier for you, and some don't. But definitely utilize being a guest as much as you are your own podcaster, for sure. And then show up as a guest, show up informed. What are you going to talk about? Are there pre-made questions? How, have your headphones, your lighting, all those things that are extremely important when you're being a guest on a podcast and as a podcaster. So I'm not going to listen to you if there's like an echo or you know, you got half your face is showing or whatever. Unless you're a funny podcaster and that's your type of jam. But most podcast people need to be able to be heard and need to be able to be seen. So in this day and age, I find it really, really hard to not have those components because some of it's just as simple as moving your computer to where it needs to be, purchasing headphones, which you don't need the most fanciest mic and equipment. Mine has a microphone on my headset. I don't have the big fancy podcast microphone. Are those things great? And they are. They're amazing. I know people that record podcasts in their closet because of the sound barrier it creates. But like you said, try things, tweak things, listen to and I will be honest, I am terrible about listening, going back and listening. What went well, what didn't go well? Can people hear you? Did it come off the way you thought it should? Gotta work on that. But definitely re-listen to things so that you know how to adjust things and tweak things. And like Peter said, try something, be consistent about it, and then tweak the plan. There's always rooms to be tweaked. I follow people that have millions of followers and, dope live shows. And she'll tell you, like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And she's just very honest about it. Well, that didn't work. This didn't work. Why? And she talks about it all the time on social media about her show and how she tweaks it and stuff like that. So I love that because not only is she advertising her show, but she's telling you how she does her show and why she does her show and what's working and what's not working. So that's what she talks about on social media, not necessarily just replaying the show over and over. She talks about the behind the scenes and things like that. I actually like behind the scenes of things because it does give you an insight to people, and how they work and how they function. And I know some people that will tell you, hey, we have a team. We talk about Susan. we don't claim to be doing it all, that's for sure. So saying that is extremely important too, so that people know how you as a podcaster is functioning is extremely important. Peter, come on in.
I think with pretty much everything in life, we learn by making mistakes. It's how we learn. Don't touch the stove. Oh, it burnt. Mistake. We learn from when we are tiny tots. When your parents say, don't touch that, you learn very quickly afterwards. There was a reason that they said, don't touch that. It was hot. You burnt yourself. You learned a lesson. Lessons are great. Love lessons. You're going to learn them for your entire life. 100%. You cannot avoid it. It's coming. When it comes to podcasting, you can be as planned as you want to be. It might not work out the way that you planned it to work out. You've made a mistake. You learn. You change. You grow. It's very simple. So what I'm going to encourage is if you are either have a podcast or you are starting a podcast, you're in that space, and this may seem like the basics. Go and do what you're going to do and make the mistakes you're going to make and correct them. And then you will make more mistakes and correct those. And you're going to make more mistakes. I think our very first networking event that we ever held, we held it on the wrong platform. We created breakout rooms for all the different networkers to meet each other. I was supposed to be hosting one and I locked myself out of it. I locked myself out of the room that I was supposed to be in. And we lost half the audience. And eventually I was like, you know what? We've made a huge mistake. We shouldn't have used this platform. We shouldn't have used it in this way. We've lost half the audience. Let's just, in the middle of the entire event, I just scrapped all the breakout rooms. And I pulled everybody into one breakout room that I wasn't locked out of. And turned it into one big event. A lot of those people left. Some of the members of my network today are the very people that stayed on our very first event. You live, you learn, you grow. You make mistakes, you correct them, you grow some more. So go make mistakes. Go make mistakes. And if you can't figure out how to fix a mistake, go take a look at somebody else that's doing it the right way and go, well, how did they do it? Then ask them and they will tell you. And then you can apply it. Mistake avoided. Move on. But if you're just going to continue doing the same thing over and over and expecting that this should be working and it doesn't, then the problem is not the podcast. Then it's you. And you don't want to be the mistake. Don't be the mistake. Let the mistake happen to you. Learn from it and grow.
Yeah, for sure, Peter. The best lessons are the lessons that you apply and how fast you apply them. And I definitely coach that way. I'll be like, some lessons we have to learn more than once. Please don't get me wrong. I've had to learn many lessons many times over, or learn it in a different way in a different season of life and then apply it. But yes, knowledge is knowledge, but knowledge with action is power. I had a coach tell me that, and it still resonates with me. He was just in my inbox the other day checking on me, and that's just one thing that I always think of when I think of him. And it's like knowledge. And we've actually had him on the show, Terrell. Knowledge is great, but knowledge with action is where you get your movement. That's where you move forward. That's where you get unstuck. That's where you show the best of you. Again, definitely something that you have to apply and do to get it to move forward, for sure. So yes, if you're wanting to start a podcast or you're going to be a guest on a podcast, definitely keep in mind how you're going to use that for marketing, because that's where the angle we're coming from. We're definitely not podcast experts. We're coming from our knowledge base, the lessons we've learned, and how we've done the show, and how that's grown over several years, because I know it was around before I came around. And I know it's went through several changes, even including when I first started to where it is now. So it's grown and changed and developed. And if you would have told me that 4 years ago that I would be the one hosting and producing it, I would have told Peter he was crazy. And now I'm doing it. Stumble along, keep going, and keep moving. So time runs super quickly when we're having very passionate conversations, but we do keep the show at 45 minutes for a reason, because that's what we're testing right now. So we are coming up on the end of it. We want to definitely give a shout out to Susan, who does our cover photos, our notes, the after show notes, turns it into spot podcast on Spotify. So please go listen to it over there. Please like, share, and show us some love. That's how we grow. That's how we know that you like the content we're creating. Our links are in the show notes, the after show notes. They won't be there right now, but when Susan gets the after production show notes done, let me use some fancy words, which she usually does within 1 to 2 business days, we will definitely have our links in there. Please hit us up. We're on LinkedIn. Get in our DMs, schedule a call. We want to leave a comment on the show. I definitely do pay attention to those as much as I can. I try to remember to go back and review those. And then Miss Somerville, who helps with everything behind the scenes at Explore ProTech. Love and adore her. I've been in conversations with her lately about helping myself. So we're planning on working together again, which we have in the past, which is amazing. My name is Sondra. I'm the owner of Get It Done Coaching, and I help you create your goals, break it into bite-sized action pieces, figure out your resources, and then hold you accountable so you can be successful. Mr. Peter, do you want to take us out?
That I do. But just before I do, I'd like to announce the birth of my little baby boy.
Yay!
A month premature, but mommy and baby are doing really well. So we're really happy. So the newest member of the tribe has just arrived. I'm sure there'll be other new members. If our members carry on the way they're carrying on, it'll be great. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's come to that time of the show where we have to unfortunately say goodbye. And we'll leave in the same way that we usually leave, with the words from Justine Porter, which is